welcome to this episode of Political Roots. Tonight, we're coming to you from Mumbai, from the famous Cathedral School. A school that is famous nationally. It's also one of the oldest schools in the country. And tonight, we'll be meeting one of the youngest politicians to have graduated from here. Why is Political Roots so important? For two reasons. Because we believe that school and college are the years that form us. This is where our ideologies take root. This is where, in a sense, we are shaped and constructed, so to speak. But political roots and taking politicians back to their alma maters is also important just because of the staggeringly high number of first-time voters in these elections. Consider the statistics. Just between the ages of 18 to 19 are 2.3 crore voters. And 47% of the electorate today is under 35. So for politicians to engage with the young voter becomes more crucial than ever before. Introducing now our guest on Political Roots this evening. It was here at one of the oldest schools in Mumbai that one of the youngest ministers in the outgoing government spent his formative years. The motto of the upscale and prestigious Cathedral and John Connon School, started in 1860, is "Studies maketh famous." But Milind Deora was always more interested in the guitar than anything else, something he learned to play at the age of 6. So would he have preferred a life of the rhythm and blues instead of dancing to the beat of politics? His friends say music may have been his first love, but politics was also always in his blood.
Even in school, of course, because of his father's background and, coming from a very well-respected political family, he had that leaning, he had that predisposition, and we used to call him Chanakya. We used to call him a politician, of course, in a fun way.
Initially, Milind would play down his love for music, thinking no one would take a guitar-playing neta seriously in politics. But later, he would go on to say that music defined his politics, and he even became part of a band called Tightrope, one that he would have to give up when he became a minister. By then, he had discovered that there was a vast world beyond politics, including meeting people who simply had no idea who he was.
Here's a story of how I met Milind. A couple of years back, I was getting out of a studio after a session, and I bumped into some friends outside, musicians, and of course they were hanging with this tall lanky guy, Milind, and they introduced me to him, and I had no idea, absolutely no idea who he was or what he did. And we got talking, and he says, well, would you be interested in a jam next week? I said, yeah. So we jammed the following week, and it was perfect. It was like all of us coming together was like bang on, the music was great, and so we were all happy, and we were like, let's form a band, and we started talking, and we named the band Tightrope. Had some killer gigs with him, and Milind would burn every night we play. Of course, the rest, Vasundhara, Gaurav, Adiraj, incredible musicians. So anyway, after that jam, we went out for a chai, and I asked Milind, so man, what band are you part of? And I don't much keep in touch with the world outside. So he says, well, you know what, I'm a politician. So I was like, wow, well, in that case, you should play guitar just as much.
As Milind Deora faces one of his toughest elections yet, in what is one of India's richest constituencies, on Political Roots, taking him back to where it all began. So shouldn't he have been playing in a band instead of dancing to the beat of politics? Let's give a big welcome to our guest tonight, Milind Deora, Minister in the outgoing government, and fighting now, hoping for a hat trick in the constituency of South Mumbai. And we've got two other interesting students or ex-students of this school.
He's still studying, from what I gather.
He's still studying.
He's got his laptop open, he's taking notes down.
Okay, that's very scary. Rahul, Bose and Cyrus, Broacha, let's give them a big hand. They'll be... I'll be doing the serious stuff and they're going to be here to make sure the serious stuff is interesting. Let me start with you, Milind. It's a tough time to be from the Congress party.
You know, I started my political career in 2004. And at that time also, Barkha, if you recall, Vajpayee ji was Prime Minister of India. And the BJP was running a India Shining campaign across the country. Opinion polls on various channels predicted that from 180 seats, BJP would get about 220 seats. I remember thinking that, does Congress really stand a chance? And that's a very South Mumbai thing also. That depends who you talk to in South Mumbai. So I think a constituency like South Mumbai, which is so diverse, it's so diverse on economic lines, it's so diverse on social strata, there's never really a wave in favor or against any particular party.
Are you saying that there is no Narendra Modi wave in your constituency? And this is a very interesting thing you say, because your constituency is home to some of the biggest names in Indian business. And Indian business loves Narendra Modi.
I see some pockets where people are very interested in wanting him to be Prime Minister, and I see other pockets in South Mumbai where people are dead against the idea of him being Prime Minister.
And how do you deal with India Inc. loving him?
Well, I think different sections of India Inc., regardless of what they think of him or my party at a national level, I'm pleased that at a South Mumbai level, various stakeholders who might be perceived to be traditional NDA or Modi supporters have come out very openly and supported me. For instance, the diamond merchants in South Mumbai, a community that hails from Palanpur in Gujarat. They're called Palanpuri Jains. A few weeks ago, they had a public meeting for me in the Diamond Bourse in Bandra Kurla complex.
So they might want you as their MP and want Narendra Modi as their PM.
That's a contradiction I'm willing to live with. But I believe that in South Mumbai, people vote, very locally also.
Are you entering this election as the underdog? Nationally and locally?
Well, I think I entered it as the underdog in my own mind in 2004, in 2009 and
Is it worse than before? Does it feel worse than before?
It feels better and worse in some stages.
How does it feel worse?
Because the media rhetoric is far more, the narrative in the media is far less forgiving today than it was perhaps in 2004. But it's similar to 2004, because in 2004 also I saw similar narrative which was very against my party and very pro the BJP. And pro Mr. Vajpayee.
Isn't there a sign of desperation that the Congress is now using Atal Bihari Vajpayee's images on its website? I mean, you now want to make a friend of Vajpayee, you want to feel sorry for Advani. You're appropriating the BJP leaders because you don't have any of your own.
I think it's interesting. It's an interesting point to make for even the Congress party. And I believe when I talk to constituents who are interested in the economy of the country, whether it's a young person looking for a job, whether it's an industrialist looking to invest thousands of crores in India, whether it's someone who just wants to invest in the secondary markets in the stock exchange. The point is very critical that in India, for economic prosperity and for economic sustainability, you have to have political stability. And
you made a comment somewhere that if Narendra Modi wins, his government will not last more than 6 months.
I meant to say that for economic growth, you need political stability.
And why would Mr. Modi not give that?
And in a country like India, where especially now where you have a coalition era of politics.
They have more allies than the Congress does.
You need social acceptability first.
But they have allies.
No,
that theory is not working.
So coming back to the point of a difference between Mr. Modi and Mr. Vajpayee, I think Vajpayee ji allowed a right-wing party like BJP to move closer to the center. And even after the 2002 riots, if you recall, even allies like Omar Abdullah, Chandrababu Naidu, Naveen Patnaik, who were very, very upset about the riots, still stayed on with NDA because of Mr. Vajpayee, not because of BJP.
But you do have the Ram Vilas Paswans who walked out on the riots and now returning. Everybody wants to be part of the winning team.
Today, one of Mr. Modi's key allies, one of the BJP's oldest allies, which is Shiv Sena in Mumbai city, look at the problems they're having with Shiv Sena. Shiv Sena doesn't even know if they're going to be an ally of BJP in the future.
Okay.
MNS is saying that we are an ally of BJP. Sometime back, Shiv Sena endorsed Sushma Swaraj as Prime Ministerial candidate. Around the same time, Mr. Modi had Raj Thackeray from MNS being welcomed in Gujarat and being taken around for a tour.
Let me hand it over to my co-questioners before I open up the floor. Cyrus, just to get the ball rolling, I mean, do you take Milind seriously as a politician?
He's taller than me. That's good enough for me. Yeah, I think.
Thinner than yours.
Barkha, first, what I asked
No,
you,
I shouldn't talk about weight.
who are you voting for?
I'm not
Because
allowed
I'm his
to,
legal
I'm not allowed to
advocate.
disclose
I
that.
represent him by law, and I need to know where you stand. If we start asking pointed questions, no. But
More seriously.
no, seriously, I just think he represents us in terms of South Mumbai, where we come from. Nobody ever represents us. We had three wonderful.
Are you putting yourself in this?
No. You're great. You're God.
Does he think we're the same?
You're from another country. We'll come to that. But
You're insane and I'm
something
boringly
like
sane.
that. Something like that. No, but we had three very interesting comments a few days back, or a couple of days back, from three philosophers and guides of our country and the Constitution. He's the antithesis of that. There's one type of politician who we show the face of India. This is the politician, not a good sight. Let's be honest. Milind is a good sight.
What is your question for him?
Will you drop me home?
No.
South Mumbai, no parking. We have the same issues. He understands.
As a voter, what is your question for him?
Well, as a voter, my question to him is, whether I support him or not, my personal viewpoint is, if you look at the other candidates in South Mumbai, where I live, unfortunately, it's an expensive constituency. Most of us live with our parents. We can't afford homes. It's not like Delhi, so, that's another story. That's one thing you can look into, help us bring down the rates. No, so for me, personally speaking, he's the guy I empathize with. I understand. I know him. There's an emotional issue there as well. I think it's difficult to divorce the human being from, the person. So that's also important for me. Now, is he the devil? Has he done really badly in the last 10 years? Has he destroyed Mumbai city? Not for me at all.
But as a voter, what do you look for in a
You
politician?
see, I take 14 minutes per answer. You sure want me to talk again?
No, I don't. Rahul, what's your question?
Milind, this was possibly the worst parliament we've had since independence. Near dead. There's a decent chance, mathematically, 50-50, that you guys could be in the opposition. How will you guys be if you get into opposition compared to this particular opposition in parliament?
And I want to add a question there, that, your leader, Rahul Gandhi, keeps talking about returning power to parliament. But his own record in parliament is so dismal. He never speaks. We've never heard him intervening. His attendance figures are poor. Your own attendance figures are pretty good compared to him. So you've got this conundrum here. Why should we take parliament seriously?
Well, firstly, Rahul Gandhi's parliamentary performance is entirely between, it's a relationship between him and his constituents. If his constituents feel that he's done more work outside of parliament for them, not enough in parliament, that's between him and them and whether they re-elect him or not.
But he could well be leader. He could be leader of the opposition. I mean, he
look,
can't afford to.
Let me make a larger point
Yes.
to what Rahul said, and I think it's an interesting point because, unfortunately, even in a constituency like South Mumbai, which is arguably, and I mean, actually, without a doubt, it's India's most informed constituency. Seldomly am I asked about my parliamentary performance. Seldomly am I asked the fact that my attendance was way above the national average, that I asked almost 2 times as many questions as the average MP asked in the last 5 years.
But Rahul Gandhi didn't ask a single question.
Again, Barkha, that's the Rahul Gandhi's relationship in parliament, just like Mr. Rajnath Singh's record in parliament as leaders of 2 political parties, is between them and their constituents. When you're a political leader, whether you're Rajnath Singh, you're Sushma Swaraj, or Rahul Gandhi, you do have a larger role to play outside of parliament also. But my limited point is, the reason that, Rahul, we don't allow parliament to function, and it's regardless of whether party A is in power, party B is in the opposition, I believe is because constituents, unfortunately, unlike, say, the United States, don't reward an MP based on his or her performance in parliament. The result of that, when I ask my colleagues in parliament, how do you justify your misbehavior and your disruptions to your constituents, they just say, nobody asked me in my constituency.
Okay, I need
So
to start
think
taking questions. We can explore some of these issues a little more. The first question is from Archana Rel. And Archana, where are you?
Since 1984, your father had been contesting from the same South Mumbai seat, which is one of the richest, as we all know. And then you also, started your career from the South Mumbai seat. And how do you now relate yourself as a national level leader, member of parliament, to the 2/3 of the population who still resides in rural India?
Well, I believe that there's a lot of MPs in parliament who represent rural India. Every time I see a debate taking place in parliament, I see MPs getting very agitated about farmers' issues, and that's very good, and I welcome that. But I think urban areas and urban regeneration and urban renewal and the challenges that cities face, both the social and developmental challenges, have never really been discussed or well represented in parliament. So, frankly, selfishly, as not just an urban MP, but as someone who lives in a large city like Mumbai and who understands the challenges of urban areas, For the last 10 years, whether it's with people like Sandeep Dixit, who's an MP from Delhi, whether it's MPs from other parties, we've tried to create an informal group that puts pressure on the government, on parliament as a whole, so that urban India's voice is also heard. Because I think for a long time, urban India has been neglected.
Can I ask you to respond to also the first comment that she made? She spoke about your, in a sense, inheriting the seat from your father, and I want to actually throw open the question on the issue of dynasty. Rahul Gandhi talks about democratizing the system. He's a dynast, you're a dynast. How do you defend the notion of political inheritance?
Well, I can't really defend it. I can only say that dynastic politics is a global phenomena. It exists in the United States, which is the oldest democracy in the world. You have the Clintons, you have Bushes, you have Kennedys. It exists in India. And I think dynasty and a background in politics, like a young actor whose father is an actor, or a young classical musician.
No, Rahul Bose is not a dynast. Cyrus Broacha is not a
No, let me
dynast.
say,
Please,
this is not a...
look, there is dynasty everywhere, except it's highlighted in politics and film.
The difference between dynasty in politics and in any other profession is that the entry barriers for people who are not dynasts is very high.
It's the same in the film industry, Barkha. If an actor's son proves to be bad in the first 5 films, he's out.
I think I'm not defending dynasts. I'm saying that ideally we shouldn't have a system where only politicians' children or relatives are given tickets. We're trying to change that, but I'm trying to say that when you get a chance to fight an election because you come from a political family, unlike many other professions that Rahul spoke about, we still have to go to the people, we still have to ask them for their mandate, get elected, get re-elected. So if I talk about my own personal experience in 2004 when I fought my first election, definitely I became an MP and I got a ticket to contest an MP as an MP at the age of 27 only because I came from a political family. But today, 2 terms later, going into my 3rd term, I have to prove myself.
Those of you who think dynasty in politics is a problem, raise your hands. Those of you who think it is a problem, generally speaking. So that's a lot of hands going up, and let's hear from someone. Keep your hands up so I can see which one of you think it is a problem. Anyone have a question specifically on dynasty?
Yeah,
that's
these girls are looking very angry.
Okay, the girl in the pink t-shirt. Yes, go ahead.
When we talk about dynasty, and we've seen that Rahul Gandhi, he's planning for being the Prime Minister of India. But even though Rahul Gandhi is from the younger lot of this country, Narendra Modi is preferred by we youngsters because we have seen the amount of work he has done in Gujarat.
Are you saying he's more self-made than a dynast is? Is that your question?
Yes, I think so, yes.
Well, of course, there's no denying that someone who hasn't come from a political background is more self-made. But as I said, look, dynasty is something we as a party and we as a polity, because dynasty exists in every political party. There are as many people from political backgrounds in BJP as there are in Congress. What we are trying to do as a political party is something actually which no political party is doing in our country today. We haven't succeeded in doing it. It's still at a pilot phase. But we're trying to implement a program where 5 years down the line, every election that the Congress party fights, whether it's a parliamentary election, it's an assembly election, or it's a local body election, in a panchayat or in a municipal corporation, candidates will be chosen by the cadre of the party, just like a primary system that you have, say, in the United States. Let me explain one thing to you. There's also an association that voters sometimes have
with families,
with someone from a particular family. I'm not saying it's good. I don't defend it. As I said, ideally we should move away from that. But sometimes people have seen a particular individual working for the community. They've seen people struggling for that community, representing their issues. There's a natural affinity to that person's son.
But isn't that unhealthy?
I think in the long run it is unhealthy if the person is incapable.
Let's take the next question. Vivan Malkani, where are you?
One of the more attractive aspects of the Congress is the fact that they're said to be more secular than the BJP. But what happened at the Imam meet was that Sonia Gandhi went ahead and locked down a huge portion of the Muslim votes. Now, won't you say that the Congress...
We don't know if she locked down any votes, but yes, she met with the Imam.
He was there.
But then...
He was there.
Between the Imam and Sonia, there was young Mr. Malkani making sure they held hands and worked it out.
And how do you know he was there? Were you there too?
I'm always there.
The omnipresent Cyrus.
But again,
go ahead.
As a representative of the party, the Imam had said that the Muslim party, the Muslim vote was going to be headed towards the Congress.
Yes.
So wouldn't you say that the Congress was being hypocritical?
You all have destroyed, would you agree, your moral argument to attack the BJP on the issues of secularism, because you are courting a cleric. That cleric is appealing for votes on the basis of religion. A number of Muslim friends I have are deeply offended by this. And let me remind our viewers here that in 2001, this same Imam called Shabana Azmi a Nachne Gaani Wali Tawaif on my program. So this is not a progressive face of Islam. Do you believe a huge mistake has been made with the Congress doing this?
No, I would just like to say one thing, that we as a party are free to have relationships, interact with leaders, religious, political, business leaders of different communities. That's all that we do. We don't practice the politics of appeasement contrary to what BJP tells the people of India. We're only against BJP's politics of oppression.
Cynical about the Congress president meeting with Imam Bukhari, with different clerics endorsing different
but the
parties.
Congress president meets with leaders of the Hindu community also.
But should they be endorsing parties?
No, the problem is that
isn't it like a political fatwa?
The problem is that doesn't get reported in the news and become as big an issue.
No,
if
isn't
tomorrow,
it like a
if Mrs.
political
Gandhi,
fatwa?
for example, Mrs. Gandhi met recently leaders of the Jain community after the Jain community wanted to thank her and the Prime Minister for making Jains official, getting minority status at national level. That's not made into the news. The minute Mrs. Gandhi or the Congress party meets leaders of the Muslim community, that's when BJP tries to communalize it.
Milind, I don't think the meeting is the problem. Rahul, do you want to come in on this? I don't think the meeting is the problem. I think the problem is the notion of religious leaders of any faith.
No, I believe
giving a call for who people should vote for.
No, I fundamentally believe that religion and politics should not mix.
Yes.
And religious leaders should stay away from politics, and politicians should practice their faith, respect religious leaders, respect religious freedoms, and that's it.
Okay.
And we don't practice that kind of communal politics. And I'll give you a very good example of that. If you remember some time back, when terrorist attacks happen, for example, in our country, we don't go around saying that if the terrorist belongs to one particular community, we're going to treat them differently. The BJP unfortunately did that. When the Malegaon blasts happened and a Sadhvi was arrested and she belonged to the Hindu community, the president of the BJP himself went out and publicly gave her a clean chit. That is the politics of appeasement.
Quick comment, the next question from the audience.
I think ordinarily if a political leader meets with a religious leader, it would not attract so much attention. I think the essence is timing.
Can I just say something,
yes,
not to sound too flippant, but what is the big issue at the end of the day? At the end of the day, why are we being hypocritical about this whole thing? Everybody goes out and tries to find votes from different people, and it's going to happen anyway.
But then we may as well...
Okay, that had happened in the public eye.
Every party, Cyrus should stand here and say, yes, of course, we all do it. We all
But we all know they all do it. I mean, everybody knows they do it.
We all know. How many of you think that religious leaders of any faith, raise your hands if you think it's okay for religious leaders to take political positions? Is it okay? And those of you who think it's okay, Cyrus?
I think it's okay.
And those of you who think it's not okay at all, of any faith, not okay at all. So this is overwhelmingly what young people
But Barkha, it's a democracy. If the religious leader says go and vote this way, you don't have to listen to him. What's wrong with that? This is a democracy. This is his view.
It's like,
you have A view,
Barkha,
you have B view.
Like in the
listen,
US,
don't
I
listen.
remember.
No, I think Barkha's point is that you profess to be a certain ideology,
yes,
and you meet with somebody who is not of that ideology, if I'm getting you right.
That's a different issue.
And so that is seen as a cynical attempt to
I also
try
have
and
a
co-opt
problem
him.
with any religious courtship or of quoting votes on religious lines. Karan, where are you?
The fact still remains that a large chunk of our population still lives on 20 rupees a day. Now, I'm shifting this question to the AAP. They have catered to this population more than the Congress has. So how can you blame the population for this disillusionment? And what does the Congress have to offer that the AAP doesn't, for example?
Just to inform you, it's when we inherited the government in 2004 at central level, and we embarked on a economic equitable distribution program and a more inclusive program, and we undertook many initiatives, whether it's Manrega, direct benefits transfer, etc. A lot of those initiatives have led to 20 million people a year being alleviated from poverty. That's a remarkable achievement in the last few years. So there's a big difference between our programs, which are actually systematic programs where we believe we want to encourage growth. AAP's ideology is completely different, because if you saw what they did in Delhi in 49 days, they, for example, had a program just before they demitted office, that if you were a protester who joined their protest against power companies and refused to pay a power bill, and in fact joined Aam Aadmi Party in cutting power tariffs, power lines, you would get a rebate. Now that's a very dangerous kind of subsidy. That's a very dangerous kind of populist politics. It's like in Mumbai, for example, imagine if Maharashtra Navnirman Sena said, if you joined us in burning toll booths, you wouldn't have to pay for tolls anymore.
Not the worst idea.
So there's a fundamental difference in parties try to redistribute wealth, and that's a good thing for our country. But populism is another thing, and dangerous, blatant populism is something which AAP tried to practice, and it was unsustainable.
What are the chances of Meera Sanyal against you, talking about AAP?
Firstly, let me tell you that there are 20 candidates fighting the elections from South Mumbai. I take every opponent of mine very, very seriously, whether it's from the 3, 4, 5 main parties or it's just independents. I think Aam Aadmi Party, unfortunately, where I'm going around, amongst the educated section of South Mumbai, who had hopes from them, someone like me, I was one of the few congressmen who spoke out within my party in favor of supporting their government when they came to power, the Delhi government. But I was also disenchanted with the way they behaved. Someone like Meera Sanyal versus say a Medha Patkar, she's depending completely on AAP, on how strong AAP is. And that, in my opinion, will be her own doing, very respectfully.
So you're saying she is basically depending on the party and she doesn't have anything she's bringing individually to the table, unlike a Medha Patkar.
I think if she when she fought the last election against me, I remember she said, for example, even if I lose, I'll work together with the person who wins. And frankly, I expected much more from her in the last 5 years. I thought she would join me, she'd work with me, she'd be on the ground doing work in South Mumbai. She herself admits that she just went back to her job. And I think that's not what is required in politics. Because in politics, whether you win or you lose, whether you get 5,000 votes or you get the winning margin.
You're saying she should have stayed in politics.
You are signing an informal contract with the voters.
So are you saying
that I will be with you and represent you regardless of whether I win or lose?
Are you saying that if you lose, you're not going to pack up and go to the next band to be part of it? You're going to stay in politics?
I'm definitely going to serve the people. I might be playing a little more of the guitar, but I will continue to serve the people.
The next question, Arshad Mehta.
Normally, people would vote for the correct and the right candidate. But this particular election, the dismal performance of UPA 2, do you think people would this time discount the candidate and would rather vote for a party?
Well, in South Mumbai, if you ask me about South Mumbai, look, my main opponent in South Mumbai is a party called Maharashtra Navnirman Sena. Ultimately, South Mumbai is a cosmopolitan constituency. It's driven by economics, whether you're a large industrialist, whether you're a panwala on the street. And I fundamentally believe that whether it's Shiv Sena and MNS, which I'll club together as one category, or say the Aam Aadmi Party, they're not very different in the sense that Shiv Sena and MNS believe in buns, AAP believes in dharnas.
But I think what he's asking is, has the party become less relevant than the candidate?
No, I think people vote on two issues.
UPA 2's performance in the last 9 months.
Well, look, I've tried to explain to people that no political party is perfect. And we have to be judged in the last 10 years.
What is the biggest mistake government made in these last 5 years?
I would say in the last quarter of our 10-year government, things started to become very turbulent, very bumpy. And I fundamentally believe that a lot of it was because of a lack of communication. Today, if you look at 2G, for instance, which is a scam everyone talks about, we failed to communicate to the people of India that this was a policy that, it wasn't our policy, it was a policy we inherited from Vajpayeeji's government.
The problem was that Raja subverted the policy. It wasn't just a debate around auction versus first come, first served. It was corruption even in the implementation of the policy and the Prime Minister looking the other way.
No, we have nothing to hide. We have nothing to hide. If tomorrow Mr. Raja is convicted by the courts and Mr. Raja is pronounced guilty, so be it. We'll welcome it. We're not defending him. We're not hiding from it. But the kind of message that was created and percolated down the system, that we created a policy which cost the exchequer money. It was our policy, and that policy failed India, is completely wrong and is factually incorrect.
You're saying your biggest failing was poor communication.
I think, then when we tried to communicate that, I think we may have done that arrogantly, come across as being a little cocky, when we could have explained it very simply.
You are admitting arrogance and complacency set in.
I'm not saying across the board. I'm saying that our communication strategy, look, in politics, in public life, whether you're a politician in India, whether you're a film star, communication is very important.
Who do you think was arrogant?
I don't think anyone was arrogant. I think that
who in particular do you think communicated badly?
No, I don't think any individual communicated badly. I just think that we as a party and we as a government should have seen this coming. We should have seen this communication challenge coming. And Barkha, let me say something to you. Also remember that 9 years ago, before 2005, RTI didn't exist. It is only in the last 5 or 6 years that we've seen 24/7 news channels, which are also vying for space, for competition, for TRPs. It's only in the last few years that we've seen social media so active.
Okay.
So there was also a new communication and governance paradigm that was created in our country, and
we
just happened to be the government of the day that was in power, and that had to deal with those challenges.
But there's also the fact that your top leadership did not speak, and I know that somebody has a question on that. Suvir Daswani, where are you?
Majority of the people of this country have lost faith in the Congress party, and I mean, people are resenting the silent Prime Minister, and his own ex-advisor, Mr. Sanjaya Baru, recently termed him accidental.
The silent Prime Minister phrase, he's also the invisible Prime Minister. Has he become a liability? He's nowhere in the campaign. Dr. Baru's book is extremely damaging. It actually suggests that Sonia Gandhi was the real power center, that the Prime Minister was just this kind of rubber stamp.
Listen, firstly in 2004...
Are you disappointed with how little the Prime Minister speaks? I mean, Cyrus, do you remember the last time you heard Manmohan Singh speak?
Yeah, but the country's still running, so I'm not panicking yet, but you're right. Manmohan Singh, not known to be the most erudite spokesperson, yeah. He's the antithesis of Rahul Bose.
Silence at the top cost the Congress?
Yes, no doubt. I think, Milind, you put it really perfectly. There was a kind of a storm of new communications building in the last 2 years, and I felt the Congress didn't have its finger, or any government perhaps, I don't know, didn't have their finger on the pulse of how to use these various very potent modes of communication. There was a kind of a old world thinking.
Approach, yeah.
No question, it wasn't just Mr. Manmohan Singh's silence. There was generally an inability. I remember during the Nirbhaya case, we were looking for more communication, a more human touch.
Let's collate this with what Sanjaya Baru is saying, with the invisible silent Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Look, I'll say this on record that I believe communication in politics, engagement with voters, with people is very, very important.
But there Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi failed as well.
I don't want to say someone failed. I'll tell you how I practice my politics.
Yeah.
If you remember 5 years ago when 26/11 happened,
yes,
I was the first one on the scene. When there was an impromptu protest at Gateway of India, I went there and I joined protesters and I tried to channelize their anger and emotion towards something more constructive. That is a part of politics today, whether we like it or not. You have to be with the people. You have to engage with them. You have to respond to what they're saying.
Why was the Congress so slow in the uptake as a
party?
Well,
as I said, as Rahul also rightly said, look, there are new communication paradigms that which Barkha are not unique to India alone.
There is no other democracy in the world that I can think of where the top leader doesn't speak.
But I'm not taking away from the fact that the top leadership of our party and of our government could have engaged better, and as a party as a whole, holistically could have done much more to engage with the people.
Do you believe Manmohan Singh has become a liability?
I think it's very unfair to say that he's become a liability.
What about what Sanjaya Baru has alleged?
Dr. Manmohan Singh 5 years ago, 10 years ago was heralded as the dream team of economics. He's the one under whose leadership, in spite of the worst global financial crisis 5 years ago since 1929, what is the worst thing that's happened to India? Our growth rates have fallen from 10% to 5%.
So
we're still one of the fastest growing countries.
Are you saying it was just a lack of charisma?
No, I'm saying politics is, one is doing work behind the scenes and two is actually communicating.
You have said, and I want you to elaborate on this, that you believe that Rahul Gandhi should have joined the government earlier. Do you believe Rahul Gandhi should have taken charge of the government earlier?
No, I think that he should have, my view is, he should have joined the government in 2009 when we got re-elected.
As the head of the government?
No, as a minister in the government. I think that Dr. Manmohan Singh was still in charge. Rahul Gandhi should have gotten involved as a minister. I think it would have been a very, very exciting mixture of experience, age, with the enthusiasm that youth brings to the table. And I think a lot of new things would have happened. And I think the point that we made, which is the advent of social media, 24/7 news channels, a new communication paradigm in our country and globally, probably could have been addressed better with younger leadership, working with a senior experienced leadership like Dr. Manmohan Singh.
Sanjaya Baru's book that essentially says that the Prime Minister was emasculated to the degree that that files were being cleared by the Congress President, that there were elaborate programs that Rahul Gandhi, the party wanted to give Rahul Gandhi the credit for them instead of the Prime Minister.
No, I think I rubbish those claims, and I think it's very unfair and it's very easy at the same time for anyone, a former bureaucrat, a former army chief, to stay silent when they're in power, and suddenly a few years later, after they've stopped enjoying the fruits of power, to come out and criticize the system. If you have what it takes and you believe and you have a sense of conviction, you should speak out while you're in power. That's what counts.
Okay, next question.
My question is, when you are there, when you have Sachin Pilot and Jyotiraditya Scindia, these people came into the government, came into the ministry much before Rahul Gandhi did. So why is Congress only pitching Rahul Gandhi against Narendra Modi, and why not other three people?
I think it's a very good question, because why aren't any of you also entitled for a shot at the top job? How can the top job of any party in 2014 be reserved?
Yeah. Can I just talk to Dushyant, because I met him for the first time? I find it a little odd, you know, because it's a very unfair question to ask him. At the end of the day, he's on the high command. They have a coterie, they have a certain process
But why
in place.
should there be a high command in this
how
day
does he?
and age?
How can he answer this question?
No, I'll answer it. I'm happy
I
to
mean,
answer
let's face. Look at him separately as the man and the party separately.
No, I'm happy to answer it.
You can't.
I'm happy to answer it. Look, I can't speak on...
Well, the question for him is, why can't he be...
He's
can he be
responsible
Prime
for
Minister
everything
one
the
day?
Congress has
Right.
done. He represents
The
the
question
Congress.
is, can he be Prime Minister one day?
Can he be? Yes, in my opinion.
The question
yes.
is, do bodyguards wear pink shirts nowadays?
That's a good question. You can't be Prime Minister.
Let me say this, I can't comment for what are Jyotiraditya's and Sachin's ambitions. They're very close friends of mine. Frankly, thank you for Cyrus for the comment that I can be Prime Minister and I should
You're
be Prime
paying
Minister.
me. What do you think this is?
But you know, I believe, I'll tell you what I believe politically, firstly at a personal level. At the age of 27, I was an MP. People struggle for a long time to become a member of Parliament. A lot has come my way. I've become a minister. I'm the youngest minister in the government today. So I think you need to pace yourself, number one. Number two is, why is Rahul Gandhi the leader of the party? See, that's something which every political party internally decides based on someone's electability and somebody who can hold the party together. Let me give you an example, a counter question. In 2004, when I fought my first election, the debate, in spite of the Congress party saying we do not have a prime ministerial candidate and Mr. Vajpayee was a sitting prime minister, BJP kept spinning this in the media and saying Sonia Gandhi is the Congress's prime ministerial candidate. What happened 1 month later? When we won the mandate of the people, she said, I don't want to be the prime minister, and someone like Dr. Manmohan Singh, who nobody thought, even journalists and political pundits
But he
never
was
thought.
appointed by her, isn't that the whole problem?
But now if tomorrow you're saying if Jyotiraditya, Sachin Pilot and Milind Deora should be, why can't they be leaders? Tomorrow if we become leaders and we are prime ministers, again you will say we are appointed by Rahul Gandhi.
I think I'll allow a follow-up question. Is there a follow-up question on this? Okay, we'll allow a follow-up question, yeah.
Yes, sir, just I want to ask the same thing. If we are not projecting anyone as a PM candidate, then what happens? He got not from a Lok Sabha. Manmohan Singh not from a Lok Sabha. So what happens if you have a PM candidate pre-decided that he will be the PM? So everyone can have a view that...
I'll answer your question very quickly. And why in India we don't need to project prime ministerial candidates is because A, we don't have a presidential system like the US where you're voting for a president of America who then forms his own cabinet. You're voting for individual MPs and every seat makes a difference, and then the aggregate of that seat decides who will be prime minister. Today Narendra Modi is going around the country saying I'm the prime ministerial candidate. What if BJP doesn't get as many seats as they're projecting? What if their allies say we are not going to support BJP now? And what if the allies say we don't want Mr. Narendra Modi as the prime minister, we believe LK Advani should be prime minister? That's the reason why Nitish Kumar walked out in the first place. That's the reason why Omar Abdullah and many other allies walked out. Narendra Modi's promise to the people that I am the prime ministerial candidate will fall flat on its face.
Rahul Gandhi says we will defeat people with love. Hum pyar se sab kuch karenge. Yet it is unprecedented to drag a politician's personal life into politics. It is unprecedented. It breaks a kind of code that has existed. How does it matter whether when they were extremely young, there was a technical marriage between Narendra Modi and a woman who may want her privacy to be respected today? How is this relevant? You can critique Narendra Modi for 10 things, but a marriage?
No.
The Congress has taken this to the Election Commission saying he lied in his affidavit. Is this an issue?
Look, at a personal level, I believe someone's personal life,
yes,
unless it comes in the way of their professional life, shouldn't be made a political issue. It's not that the BJP hasn't done this with the Congress party. The BJP has done this throughout its career against Pandit Nehru, against Indira Gandhi, against Rajiv Gandhi, against Sonia Gandhi. They've always made made personal
But
attacks.
you know, Indira Gandhi's marriage with Feroz Gandhi was never the subject of political conversation.
Well, Barkha, that time you didn't have 24/7 news, you didn't have social media, and that time times were different. But the opposition still made those things political issues.
Has the Congress made a mistake?
I think all parties, whether it's my party, whether it's BJP, whether it's Aam Aadmi Party, whether it's Shiv Sena, whether it's anybody, should not drag someone's personal life into the political game. I think it's very wrong. It's very unfortunate. Every individual,
So is Mr.
whether
Modi's
they're in
marriage his
public
personal
life or
space?
not,
Is Mr. Modi's marriage his personal space?
I don't see how it affects his political, unless he's lied under oath, and he's lied under oath
I
by
mean, the
filing
Congress's
affidavit.
allegation is that he left that column blank in an affidavit.
No. So look, if you've lied under oath to the people of India and got elections,
He
that on
left
its
it
own is a
blank
violation
till-
of the Election Commission
But he left it blank
guidelines.
till the Supreme Court said you can't leave
As
things
I
blank.
said, I don't know the details. If someone has lied or misled the people of the constituency or the country and lied under oath in their affidavit, that's a legal issue which is completely different.
I have a question, and you know it's going to come from me.
Yeah.
We talked about Nirbhaya, gender justice, gender equality, the whole fight for gender in a city like Mumbai, and South Mumbai is where we're all from. Please, can you tell us a few, if you have, any concrete measures, be they infrastructural or ideological, to try and reduce the gender parity in Bombay?
Look, after Nirbhaya, in record time, the government and the opposition, to give them credit, and Parliament as a whole, came together, looked at Justice Verma's report, findings, passed a law, a historic law, and that's the law of the land today. But I believe, in addition to a strong law which we have in our country today, implementation is very, very critical. How do we implement that in every police office, for instance? How do you sensitize policemen to respond to women's issues if a woman comes to the office and complains of a certain crime against her? But I can't deny the fact, as much as people want to hear quick solutions, we do need to put our heads together. And I know it sounds cliched and it might sound trite and hackneyed, but we do need to put our heads together and find a way to change the medieval mindsets that exist in our society.
Well, politicians have medieval mindsets.
Even politicians
Look at the
have
statements
medieval
coming
mindsets.
from Abu Azmi to start with.
Even a mother-in-law
Or Mulayam
might
Singh
have a
Yadav.
medieval mindset with regards to her daughter-in-law.
Right.
So men, women, society, definitely politicians need to start first. And I strongly condemn whatever Mulayam Singh Yadav has said about women, about rape. And I think it's important first for us as voters, since we're in election period, to reject forcefully those parties.
I'm seeing a number of young women raise their hands.
Gender parity, just help her talk, because she's been dying to speak for the last half an hour.
Who's been dying?
This lovely lady in the
okay,
blue.
let's get you in.
What happens to
I'm
Cyrus'
actually.
sister, by the way?
Is it Cyrus' sister?
Yeah.
Somebody very senior, probably from your own party, comes up with such a mindset, openly speaks about it, then it's about people like you. I mean, we look up to people like you to openly come and condemn it and criticize it and not be politically correct about that. Secondly, when a friend sitting here said about the dismal performance of UPA in past few years, that is a time when you very politely made a comment saying that no political party is perfect. So same goes for AAP. It's just had a 49-day stint in Delhi, and personally speaking for me, I think it's changed the cynic in me, I'm hopeful now. I look forward to more participation, and that is why I'm here to ask you questions. I'm not against dynasty politics, but what I say is when you come here, it's not about you to defend it, but you should be able to justify it,
Okay,
So
that's 3 questions in one, and you have only 1 minute, not less than that, 30 seconds to answer all of them.
Go with true, false.
No, we're really at the end of time, and we've got the principal here as well. We're going to allow her a
I
question.
agree with you in principle with whatever comments you've made.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is that regardless of political parties, no party, as I said, can claim to be perfect, not even my party. And I believe those parties that are presenting themselves as a solution for all of India's problems are simplifying a very complex problem in a very diverse country
Okay,
like
I have
India.
to ask you in the
I
end.
only believe ultimately you have to choose the right candidates who have always had the courage to stand for what they believe in, who had the courage to take on their own party. And I believe I've displayed that courage.
That's so interesting that you should say this, because no one's asked you this, so I have to. One, what is it about the pattern where Milind Deora puts a tweet out and then Rahul Gandhi goes and announces it at a press conference? It's happened more times than people can count. It's happened so often that Sushma Swaraj said, if Milind speaks, can Rahul Gandhi be far behind? Whether it was...
Marka, you want him to stay in the party, or you want him to...
Sorry?
If he says anything, he won't be in the party anymore.
No, but the fact is, Milind, were you being used by Rahul to test the waters? Was it just coincidence? Did you and Rahul Gandhi discuss this? Why was it happening repeatedly that your tweets And are you satisfied with the outcome of some of them? For example, one of your tweets opposed, of course, the ordinance to protect convicted MPs. But you also tweeted about the Adarsh report and you said that it should be implemented, it should be looked at. Yet we saw a partial implementation of it. We saw the governor not giving sanction for Ashok Chavan's prosecution. We see Ashok Chavan getting a ticket. So two questions. How do you know what Rahul Gandhi is going to say? Are you the prelude to Rahul Gandhi? And two, are you disappointed that Ashok Chavan's got a ticket?
Firstly, I can't see why Rahul Gandhi would use me as his weather vane to test the waters. If he wants to say something which is in public interest and is going to get him a lot of media, public support, he
so
would go and
how
say
do you
himself.
explain this coincidence?
Pure flukes.
Rubbish.
It's just...
Okay, how many of you believe that it's a pure fluke?
Listen, let me tell you.
Pure fluke. You believe it?
We're all same school, Barkha.
And how many of you think it was planned? Okay,
Let me tell you this. Let me tell you. Firstly, if it was planned, Rahul Gandhi wouldn't want me to take 10, 20, maybe 30% credit for it. If it was planned, he would want 100% of that credit. If you go back even post 26/11, when the late former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, right after the terrorist attack ended, took Ram Gopal Verma into the Taj Mahal Hotel. If you remember, it was on your channel.
Yeah.
That I spoke out against that. And a few days later, the party spoke out against that. And
so
said
you're saying it's coincidence?
No, I'm saying that South Mumbai is a constituency which keeps me on its toes. It makes me speak for what I believe in. That's the credit I give to the people of South Mumbai, frankly. And I've always taken these stands because these are stands I fundamentally believe in.
So are you disappointed that Ashok Chavan's got a ticket?
I didn't. Firstly, even on my tweet with regards to Adarsh, all I said is that we should investigate whatever is there and we have nothing to hide. Now, whether a person should be given a ticket because they are accused of a particular crime...
But the CBI wanted to investigate him and the governor wouldn't give sanction.
Now, whether Mr. Ashok Chavan, whether Mr. Somnath Bharati or whether Mr. Yedurappa, from all three main political parties, should be given tickets, should be allowed to continue to be in office because they are accused versus those who are convicted. That, frankly, is a debate which political parties have to have amongst themselves because politics, as we all know, is a tough, dirty business. People throw mud at each other. No, I'm answering the question, and that's why on the ordinance issue, when I spoke out against it and Rahul Gandhi spoke out the next day and said the ordinance should be torn and thrown away, and the Prime Minister, if you remember, was traveling in the United States at the time, I spoke out because I said we can debate whether a person who's accused of a particular crime should or should not be given a ticket to contest election. But in my opinion, someone who's convicted should not be allowed to be in Parliament.
Okay, last question to the principal, and we have to end. Ma'am, please.
All right, Milind, I just want to ask you one thing. All of us are absolutely fed up of the politicians and politics, and I think it's a known thing. We have been trying to encourage a lot of young people to get into politics because we think that is the way forward. In fact, many of my young boys and girls want to do that. What is it that you could tell them? And what could we as a school do? Because we have curricula for everything, but I don't think there's a curricula for politics.
Quickly.
The first thing I would say is to you, ma'am, and to the students of Cathedral School is to pay more attention in civics classes. Because today, when I think the problem why there's cynicism also, of course, the media has a constructive role to play in highlighting issues, but it's also people's own ignorance that makes them cynical to the problem, very frankly. And I think people don't understand the political process well enough, and that's why they say it's a complicated area. I don't understand how elections are fought. I don't understand how people govern. I don't understand how Parliament works. I don't understand what is quorum in Parliament, what is question hour in Parliament, how are bills enacted. That is the first step in my view. Okay. A school student, if they pay attention in civics, if civics is taught in a more exciting way, if you remember once, a few years ago, you invited me and I came to school and I spoke to the 9th and 10th standard students of this school and just answered questions about civics. And I'm passionate about that because I want them to understand the political process, which is why at my own level I've started a youth parliament initiative where we take students from different parts of different colleges in South Mumbai to New Delhi every year, and we get them to meet with the Speaker of Parliament, the Speaker of the Rajya Sabha, meet political leaders, meet journalists like yourself, Barkha, to get a 360-degree view on how politics works. That, I believe, is the only way to bring them into the fold and get them more excited about the political process.
I have to end by just asking you, do you see the rest of your life in politics?
I see the rest of my life in public service and in public life.
That is ambiguous enough to mean many things. We'll leave
Well,
it.
You didn't ask-
I have to
Cyrus,
say-
Cyrus has some advice for politicians.
I'm a little critical here. Can I be a little critical?
Advice?
There's no time if we keep talking. We
Yeah,
talk
there's
to Jim.
no time now.
I just want to say that you didn't ask the hard questions. We came here for the hard questions. Who was his first girlfriend in school? Did he use urinal correctly? Did he write on it? Did he cheat in exams? Did he pull somebody's ponytail?
So tell us, do you know the answers to these?
We're not exactly the same batch.
We'll take that conversation offline now. Thank you so much. Let's have a big round of applause for our questioners and for Milind Deora.